Okay. Okay. All right. I don't know if my live chat's working because YouTube Studio is being YouTube Studio ish. So got a bunch of stuff going on. Mark says the suspense is killing him. Well, don't feel suspense anymore because we are live. Um yeah, the fact that I could even do this with the MacBook Neo is kind of nuts. I want to see. Okay, so I've been having a little difficulty with the overhead camera. However, it looks like, oh good, I didn't want to do that. Whatever, it's fine. Yeah, so it looks like our overhead camera is actually working pretty well. Duke Seb says, I'll be back in a few. Just have to get some groceries. See you in 30 minutes. If the stream lasts that long, yes, Duke, I will see you in about 30 minutes. I am going to try to figure out why I can't get the chat to show up properly. That is so weird. So can I show any of this without doxing myself? Let's see. Okay, so here, check out my desktop. So for some reason, YouTube says connect your encoder to go live. I am live. It's, oh my god, such stupidness. Yeah, I don't think it's going to. This is so weird. This is so funny. No, I don't want to reset my stream key. I'm trying to figure out. Mark, if you're there, just let me know that you're in chat. Just type something, anything. I'm very curious. I got 10 people watching right now. So if you're just joining the stream, I'm going to make this disappear off the side for just a moment. But you'll notice over here, this abundance of wires and even this wire going into the iPad. I'm streaming from the MacBook Neo. This is the indigo colored 512 gig variant of the MacBook Neo with the Touch ID. Yeah, you can see the hub's acting a little funny, and I'm not sure if it's entirely the fault of the MacBook Neo causing it or if it's the hub itself, but I'm going to do a little investigating. So hopefully the stream stays alive. We've got Ethernet going. Okay, so I am live because I've got a message from Anaya Print. How are you, sir? I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I hope you like your computer. I like it. Oh, good lord, no. Now macOS is trying to get me to turn on like gestures so hearts and stuff can fly on the screen when I wave my hands. So that happens, that's going to be a funny turn. So far the stream has been running for about 11-ish minutes. I'm also recording at the same time, but I'm using the stream encoder within OBS, so it's not double the usage. The fact that this works, like, here, let me give you some context here. So this is our main scene, right? This is our overhead camera. This is the desktop of the MacBook Neo, right? And look, everything seems fairly responsive. And I've got a capture card in for the iPad. Now, the USB-C hub that I'm using is what I typically plug into the iPad. So I had to charge the iPad beforehand because I can't use a USB-C hub with this connected. So, well, sorry, I can't use the USB-C hub for the iPad at the moment because it's plugged into the MacBook Neo. So you'll see on the overhead camera, that's my cam link. That's the overhead camera. That's the capture card, and that's HDMI going out to my second monitor, which is over here. Prompter XL, even if I had a free port, the teleprompter does not work with the wavelength. It wants more wattage, and the specification for USB doesn't allow that amount of wattage to go out to the prompter to power the prompter. Oh, I got my Stream Deck as well, and that's actually plugged into the USB 2 port, which is the front port right here on the side of the Neo. And I was going to turn it, but I'm afraid of moving it because I'm very worried that the hub might disconnect. Because if you didn't see in the overhead camera, yeah, you can't see it on camera, but Over here, like way off in the back, is Ethernet. So I'm giving it Ethernet. I have Wi-Fi turned off right now, so I've got 2.5 gig Ethernet going into it. This is an iPhone processor. Let's really put that into perspective. And iPrint says, I'm gonna have to figure out the chat on screen thing in a second. I'm glad everything's working for you now. I'm just waiting for my package from March 5th. I won't get it till April 27th. Elgato and the XLR Mark II adapter. Yeah. I don't know how much we're gonna talk about Elgato today because I mean that topic's like. I'm not saying I don't want to talk about them because I got a new product. That's not it. I'm saying that it's really up to them for them to make a better statement than they've made. And I feel like if I keep talking about it up until they make a statement, I feel like I'm just beating a dead horse. So, I mean, look, we're all seeing it. There's evidence everywhere. The last video I just posted, if you haven't seen that video, check that out after the stream. Or whenever. You know what? I'm not telling you how to live your life. It's your Sunday. But yeah, if you want to see what happened, and there's two parts of that video. There's two videos, I should say. The first is the initial video where I like screamed at them. And the second one is kind of the follow-up when they sent me a brand new unit. And even though I got a brand new unit, if you haven't watched that video, I'll say this much. Just because I got a brand new unit doesn't change my opinion. I think they need to do better. And I think some people misinterpreted. I got a comment on the first video, which got held for review. And the person went off on me, cussing, all this stuff, which is why it got held for review. But I didn't do that. YouTube does that. But they were under the impression that I was asking Elgato to send me a free product or I would throw it like my issues with them on YouTube. That's not what happened. And I want to make that abundantly clear. My whole thing was I paid for a product and I got a used version of it when I paid for a brand new product. So all I was saying in the video was, send me a new product. Send me not a free one. Send me a replacement for this one. I'll send this one back. But I'm still had spent the money. So I don't know where this person got the idea free from. That's nonsense. Okay, so I got 8 people watching. If anybody here is interested in MacBook Neo stuff, feel free to comment. I'll answer what I can. Mark is here. Awesome. You know what? While we are talking, I want to figure out why I'm not getting the chat. You know what? I know how I can get the chat. People complain about YouTube all the time in terms of the dashboard. And if I'm being honest, I never saw it. Like I never saw the issues until I started live streaming, and now I'm like, oh my god, this is brutal. It was on pause while I needed my ears for something out. Fair enough, yeah. Yeah, Mark is editing music videos for Extendamix, the contract job that I have. Hey, my video from yesterday is at 1,200 views. Let's go. All right, let's get the chat going so I can pop this on screen, and then I can read it over here as well, because that's the reason I wanted the prompter plugged in, is because I could read the chat directly at the camera lens. But because the prompter is not coming up, I'm going to have to read the chat over here. First world problems, I know. This is actually working. This is sick. Like, God, for the price of this computer, I'm not expecting the world, because, like, this is the M3 Max, and this is maxed out. This is topped out, and, like, it streams no problem. But at the moment, my CPU usage on the MacBook Neo is hovering around 10%, and I believe I'm set to... Okay, now the chat comes up. This is so stupid. There we go. I had to like go back in the studio. Anyway, whatever. It's working. I don't care. Let me just get the chat ready here. Uno momento. Okay, so I'm going to open a new tab, make sure that's going. Okay. I have to be very careful what I'm doing right now, because if I do this wrong, everything's going to start lagging, and we cannot have that. So let's see. I was on pause. So, I'm just going to... I'm going to throw this back in chat. And this is more as a test message to see whether or not my widget's working. Hey, there we go. All right, perfect. So I just threw the disclaimer back. Now I can see the chat. So whenever anybody wants to comment, they can. Oh, did the stream lose quality? If anybody's watching the stream outright, just let me know if you lost quality. I am streaming in the ultra low latency mode. So Mark, if you're listening right now, maybe like refresh the stream or fast forward to like live and we'll see how quick this is working. But hang on. Actually, I can time this. So clear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. Beautiful. All right. I'm going to put the disclaimer back up until I get some more comments in the chat. But yeah, right now we are streaming with the MacBook Studio, or not MacBook Studio. Wow, I'm tired. Coffee. MacBook Neo. Here, and I'm going to go back to my overhead camera, right? So, for those who are just joining us, here, I'll give you the quick adjacent rundown. Let me make my life easier. I'm closing tabs, but making sure everything is still working because I have 8 gigs of RAM that I'm working with, so that's not optimal. But anyway, so we've got a USB-C hub here. There's power delivery on this side, and then you've got my cam link, and then you've got my the cam link is going through USB-C. I'm going to explain that quick. The cam link wants more wattage than the typical USB-A ports will deliver, so it doesn't seem to work really well. So I use the USB-C adapter to bring in the cam link. I'm also afraid to touch the stupid hub because I'm afraid it's going to disconnect everything, because on the end over here is you can't see it, it's just off camera. It's an Ethernet 2.5 gigabit Ethernet adapter, which is giving us our internet connection because I've got Wi-Fi connected. And then if I go back, we've got my capture card, which is actually running the iPad, right? So there's the iPad, right? All working, pretty cool. All right, and then we've got HDMI coming out of there, going into the monitor that I am staring into, waiting for comments to come in. So I just want to check that this is actually updating correctly. Why is that one there? Move that one. Let's move you up here. And okay, it looks like it's working. So Anaya Print says, the only thing I don't like about Apple computers that we're not allowed to upgrade. That hurts my feelings. Yeah, that's Apple for you. Look, I am not about to be an Apple apologist in terms of why they do the things that they do. But I am going to say this. The reason Windows has had a lot of problems, not that Windows is bad. Windows is better for customization, obviously, and getting really deep into it, where macOS can feel obtuse at times, and I get that. However, the thing is, like, if a third-party manufacturer makes like I don't know, a PCI card, like a graphics card or something, the problem is that it's a lot of management for those who develop the operating system to support all that, and then they have to rely on whoever made that graphics card to provide like support drivers, that kind of stuff. Apple, I think in their case, they just want to maximize margin, and they don't want to deal with having to spend resources on supporting third-party stuff, because then customers, for them, it's all about customer experience. And if they can keep everything tightly knit, then they're good. But the problem is, obviously, you know, with their aggressive strategy to keep everything so tightly integrated, like you can't upgrade RAM, you can't upgrade storage, you know, unfortunately, because of that, they just make it difficult for everybody. It sucks. I do agree that that is not wonderful. Yeah. Got 15 people watching. I'm assuming that these are either lurkers or people just trying to see if this is reasonable to stream on. So, let's see here. Can I clear any of these? Nope. That sucks. Ah, whatever. Okay. I can do this, though. I can bring my stream down here eventually, if OBS will let me. There we go. I'm going to switch to my desktop. Okay. So, why is Let's Go popped up? That's weird. Okay, didn't want to do that. You will notice in the corner, let me hide my big old head. One moment, please. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so if you look in the corner, like right there, and yeah, here-ish, it is very hard to see. We've got 10% CPU usage, which is actually pretty insane on a computer at this price point. Like, that is nuts. That is absolutely nuts. I don't know. I think some people are expecting a little too much. Like, even I'm guilty of that. Yeah, I'm a little bit guilty of the expecting a lot of this computer. It's got 8 gigs of RAM. Like, what am I really thinking about here? And Niprin says, are the people that worked with Elgato? I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah. So anyway, if you're watching this, yeah, we're streaming on the Neo. Now, I want to set everybody's expectations for a second, because one of the things with the MacBook Neo that I'd love to point out, let me just pull up some windows here. So I'm going to go do this and hide this. If it would hide, why would it? All right, so I got some graphs here, okay? And these are real-time updating live graphs from the computer, okay? So if I were to get this to size properly. Okay, let's take a look over here. You know what? I should actually bring my camera back. That might be helpful. Yeah. Okay. So if we look over here, we have GPU history. Now notice it is pretty high. Our GPU is way out of control. You said people are watching you, and then I say anything is probably from Elgato. Hey, Goose. Yeah, sorry, I'm still really not following. You might have to explain it a little differently. Let's look at Goose 6. Is it Goose 6? Yeah. Literally think I'm going to buy one today so I can leave my Pro on the desk and stop carrying around a heavy powerhouse just to answer emails and keep up with daily CEO tasks. Yeah. The fact that, again, I'm going to say this again. I'm going to like really make this thing scream for a second. The transitions that I use. Watch this. Let's see if this actually works. Of course it doesn't do it while the stream's running. That's hilarious. I have like a longer transition, and it was not happening, not with this computer. But the fact that this computer at this price point can even stream, and if we go back to the desktop and look at our usage, it spiked up right here. That's when I hit the transition, but like I'm streaming through a cam link going into a USB-C hub. Going into this, and I've got multiple scenes, and I've got a second monitor attached. That's all on one cable. The other cable, okay, this cable is just USB 2. It's just for the Stream Deck, right? So, hang on. Wow, it would help if I put the overhead camera to demonstrate that. Let me try that again. This cable right here, this cable is just going to my Stream Deck XL, okay? So, the fact that this is even possible at this price point, that's insane. That's actually incredible. Also, I want to, well, I'm not going to pull that back up. I'm just looking at performance metrics while I stream because this is super, super interesting. And iPrint says, maybe someone from Elgato support is watching the chat in the background. Cool, let them. That's their problem. Look, I don't have a problem with Elgato typically. Usually I don't. But this was just a little bit unreal. I'm surprised you're pushing that much from that little machine, or sorry, that much from that little thing. Yeah. So, let me answer a Naya Print first. I'll pull that comment back up. So, I'm not mad at Elgato. Typically, I'm pissed off at Elgato because they're being very anti-consumer by, at least, again, this is all like assumption, but based on evidence, which I put in the last video that I posted, which was yesterday. Just based on how they're acting and how they're they're pushing the buck and passing accountability to other people and other ways this could have happened. But somebody there knows what happened, because this wasn't like a one-off thing. Like, there's Reddit threads. I heard somebody told me in a YouTube comment earlier that someone went into their Discord and showed them one of the videos. It was either one of mine or the one that I pinned in the comment of the last video in Elgato's Discord, and then they got banned from the Discord, which is wild. Yeah. MX4, what was it? MX4? Yeah, great mouse. This is the MX3S. I do have an MX4. That's in my studio. It's cool. Like, I like the tactile feel of the thumb button, but I don't think it was worth upgrading for. I was going to do a review on it, but when that came out, my contract gig, that's when that gets really busy. Like, it was like right around November, and then I was leaving on vacation, and it was a whole thing. But anyway, I want to go back to Goose's comment, the last one. So I'm surprised you're pushing that much from that little thing. I wish I had a temperature monitor to check, but yeah, it's working. Although, I don't know if the stream is going to stay up. And the reason I say that, look at this. Look at my GPU cores. This thing's going crazy. It doesn't like, it seems like it doesn't like the cam link. Ah, whatever. It's fine. Let's see. One moment, please. Nope, I have this. I have one of each, same shit, just different plastic. Yeah, like I actually have two. This is that 3S. I have two of these. Because if my mouse goes with my work, and it's happened where my keyboard died and I was like SOL till I got another keyboard. But I like keeping a backup mouse because I can't work my contract gig if my mouse completely dies, right? So, yeah. I don't think you will overheat it. I imagine displacement occurs somewhere, maybe haven't hit the throttle limit yet. LOL. Oh, I've definitely hit the throttle limit. I'm sure that this thing's throttling. But what I am going to say is I haven't dropped any frames in stream. Mind you, the only thing I have open outside of activity monitor is obviously OBS and the little Chat Ninja plugin that's pulling up all the chats. Then, sorry, I'll read the comments in a sec, sorry. Yeah, so basically all I have running is OBS, the chat. I have one instance of Edge. I wish I was using Safari for this, but the plugin for Chat Ninja doesn't work with Safari. And that's it. If I open up something else, it's going to be a problem. Let's see. You know, I haven't even, let me see, what's my battery at? Okay, well, the good news is I'm getting about 40 watts charge. Hang on, one thing at a time here. An iPrint says, I wouldn't push it before you overload it as it will cause a crash. No, it'll just turn off. It won't crash, it'll just turn off. Yeah. And streaming on that, yeah, I'm streaming. Yeah, Star has iPhone 6. Yeah, this is what we're on right now. That's why we have the abundance of cables coming out of it. There's 2.5 gig Ethernet on the other side that you can't see on camera. Well, you can kind of see it over here. Yeah, that's my 2.5 gig. And I'm doing power delivery through the Wavelink 2.5 gig hub, which I actually reviewed on the channel a while ago. No, you're clean. It looks really good. Thank you. Yeah, that's something I'm going to be checking throughout. Hopefully, I'm getting some feedback about that. But I mean, like I literally, so my M3 Max, like I have an M4 Max and I have this one. And the M3 Max was what I used to go out on the road and I stream from it. I use a separate like macOS profile. But I literally spent the morning, a good chunk of the morning, moving all the assets over and connecting all the pieces so that way OBS would run properly. But it seems fine. However, and I don't know if anybody else has had this issue with the MacBook Neo. This thing, I've had some interesting problems trying to migrate. This is the 512 gig version. I wasn't trying to migrate 512 gigs. I think it was like 150 gigs worth of migration. And it either just wouldn't even detect, or it would start the migration and then just fail, like it would crash or something, which was annoying. Yeah. Actually, I want to address where was it? Naya Print said, I saw it here just now. I wouldn't push it before you overload it as it will cause a crash. So here's what typically happens when you run it too hot. it will run at a certain speed, and then as it gets too hot, in a normal computer, the fans would spin up to cool it down. But we don't have fans in the MacBook Neo. So what it's going to do is it's just going to heat up. And if it hits the point where it's like, hey, I'm a little too hot, it's going to downclock. So it's going to run slower. And it's going to continue to downclock as it continues to get heat soaked until it's running at like frame, like very slow. Like if this isn't an official number, but let's assume that it was like 4 gigahertz. Well, it might clock down to like 3.5, then 3. It'll step down slowly, and then it'll hit a point where it's like, okay, I'm running at 0.8 gigahertz or 800 megahertz, and I can't slow down anymore. At that point, it'll shut off. I don't think it's gonna crash necessarily. Crashes are usually related to bad software with memory leaks, or some kind of bad hardware in general. But like, yeah, this is I don't think it's gonna crash necessarily. Starphone has an iPhone 6, says I expect the battery level to go down quick. I mean, I'm powering it. Like I've got let me see, can I pull it back up here? Yeah, I've got power brick going through power delivery. This adapter I believe can deliver 87 watts of power delivery, but the MacBook Neo is I think it caps it at like 39 or 40 watts. I think I saw that in system information. But I mean, all in all, this isn't bad. Like, look, I'm looking at our graphs here. Our GPU is the most troubling of the graphs, right? So you'll see this is GPU history. Yeah, it's hilarious. And Extrastine says, happy birthday. Wow. Happy Sunday, brother. I got messed up because the cursor covered some of the word there. Yeah. Happy Sunday, brother. Happy Sunday. Yeah. So for those watching, if you're just tuning in, we are streaming from the MacBook Neo, and we are pinning at times our GPU, which is really, really funny. But yeah, we got the streaming, and I've got a bunch of scenes, right? So I've got desktop, right? We've got our iPad, which is running just the stream, so I can see that it's working, right? There's our desktop again. We got an overhead camera, which is the Panasonic Lumix GH5 Mark II, connected via USB-C, which is this one right here. And then the cam link is running my S5 Mark II. And if you're wondering how I'm getting audio into this, I've actually got the audio going directly from my Sennheiser mic through Phantom Power into the camera. The camera's sending HDMI. Okay, it's a little complicated, but essentially think of it this way. The HDMI is carrying both the audio and the video. So that's all coming in through the cam link. So if the cam link disconnects, you're going to see and hear nothing. So it's great. Chris Leslie says, happy Sunday. Nice. New shiny MacBook and Stream Deck. This is the old Stream Deck. This is the, oh my God. Still trying to get used to this. This is just the XL. This is the Rode Stream Deck. Yeah, the other one, if you saw the video that went up yesterday, I have the new one. I haven't even tried it yet. I was more worried about inspecting it, but I haven't had time. It's just, life's busy, But yeah, I'm streaming from, so Chris, if you didn't know, this is actually streaming from the MacBook Neo. Like, we're on the MacBook Neo right now. That's what is happening all over here, right? I've got Ethernet going in. I've got Stream Deck's going in the USB 2 port so I can keep all the high bandwidth ports open. The one thing I did notice is if it's going to do it, I'm trying to get it to like stutter, because when I was testing this earlier, when I was migrating all the stuff, it was kind of stuttering. But you know what? I think the computer just needed a good reboot, which is what it ended up getting. So I'm going to try a long transition and see if this completely breaks everything. So we're going to go back to the desktop, and I actually just want to see how stressed out the computer gets, because as of right now, OBS is saying that we're using, in terms of CPU usage, we're like locked at 10%. However, if you were to look at the desktop itself, you will notice that the built-in GPU is basically pegged. Let's see. I just got a comment that I thought was hilarious. Do you have hardware acceleration on an OBS? Yes, I do. I'm running Here, I will actually show you. I don't mind showing this. Let me just minimize some of this stuff. One moment, please. Got that, got that. Yeah, so here is my OBS, right? If you can see it, yeah. If I go to output, we're running the Apple VT H.264 hardware encoder. So yeah, we are definitely getting hardware acceleration. I'm just going to drag. Again, I think part of the problem as well. Did I just break stuff? Oh, OBS is being dumb. Gotta love that. Multi-monitor can be very finicky. Yeah, there we go. I actually have what's it called? I have dual monitor set up because in the USB-C hub that I just pointed out in the overhead camera, right? We've got HDMI just sending 4K 60 out to this screen so I can read chat and all that stuff. Open GarageBand or Adobe while streaming. Nah, we're not doing that. Nah, fire up Premiere Pro. Nah. It's, guys, like, let's be real. The computer is 8 gigs of RAM. What I'm doing right now, the fact... okay, you guys are not understanding this. If I do a stress test, it's going to kill the stream. So no, we're not doing a stress test. And also, there are a million videos covering that. Like, this is... You guys have to understand what this is for. The fact that you could even open Final Cut, let alone edit. And I can't show this on stream because I'm out of ports. But, like, where is it? I have it here somewhere. Yeah. So, this is a Thunderbolt 5 enclosure. But what's cool about this one from our friends over at Wavelink, not sponsored, not yet anyway, this one will allow it, if you can see that. Can I make this in focus-ish? Anyway, the text here says USB 4 V2 80 gigs. So it connects via Thunderbolt. It comes up as Thunderbolt when you plug it into a Thunderbolt computer, but it also comes up as a USB drive, which is fantastic because most times Thunderbolt drives don't typically step down, not properly, but this one seems to do it really well. I was editing ProRes RAW. ProRes RAW is easy to edit, but I was impressed that this computer with 8 gigs of RAM and an iPhone processor, there is a reason it can do all this, and nobody really talks about it. Stress test and fire it back up. We'll be here. No, you won't. Don't lie to me. People will not be here. Okay, like right now, and also it hurts my YouTube analytics or my algorithmic push if I'm like constantly starting and stopping the stream. So that's why we put up our lovely disclaimer, which we were gonna put up again for a second anyway, because I'm gonna read the next one. Stars on iPhone 6 says this will probably get an update next year with an A19 Pro chip, 12 gigs RAM, same thing. Okay. I was thinking about that because that was my assumption. If this sells really well, and majority of the use case that comes out of it is just like word processing, I can speak. I honestly, truly believe that Apple might skip a year and then do the A19 Pro in the following year. I have a reason I assume that. It's because there's this rumor at the moment that the next Mac OS operating system would be Mac operating system. Anyway, the next Mac OS release, the next major one, when the fall happens, they're saying that it's going to be like Tahoe but fixed, like all the bugs that were in Tahoe. It's going to be like Windows XP after Millennium, if that makes sense, or like Windows 7 after. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think they're going to try to optimize this operating system to squeeze more life out of something like the Neo and make customers happy that were really angry about Tahoe. As a rule, outside of the MacBook Neo, because it came with Tahoe and it probably doesn't run anything under the macOS Tahoe. What's it called? Yeah, they're probably going to try to optimize it. I really believe that they're not going to. I was thinking about it. I cannot see them going double. And Duke, you're wrong. You're actually wrong. Inherently wrong. They don't always say that. When they introduced Tahoe, they never, ever said anything about that they were going to fix stuff. Yeah, but sorry, let me go back to this here. Yeah, so what I was saying is Tahoe is pretty bad. I don't run it on my daily drivers at all. The only thing that's Tahoe adjacent is like iPad OS 26, which came with this iPad, and Mac or iOS 26. But I don't know. I think they're gonna do a bug fix release. If you remember way back, if you're old enough to remember this, they had Snow Leopard, macOS Snow Leopard, and that was like the big fix for like Leopard and like older OSs that had problems. I expect this to have some lag spikes after at its price point. Um, yeah, I'm very surprised. Your wife sounds like a smart person, Duke. Damn, you sound like my wife. Yeah, your wife sounds smart. I expect this to have some spikes at its price point. Yeah, I'm surprised because here I'm gonna pull OBS down to my main desktop, and let's switch. And if you look at the bottom, sorry, this is being very jank. This is why it's Tahoe. It's not the Mac. Tahoe just sucks. Okay, so drop frames. I'm sitting at 0. We've been going for 45 minutes. CPU is at 11.1, but don't read too much into that CPU number because that's just we're not using the CPU to do the stream. We're using the media engine. That's the hardware acceleration that we were talking about earlier. I honestly believe that. Oh yeah, I can show you that. Sorry, one moment, please. Let's do that. Let's go back to our desktop. I believe I'm at 10,000. Well, yeah, I'm at 10,000. It says it there, but here I'll actually open and show you. What output? Yeah, we're doing CBR 10,000. Yeah, just basic stuff. You know, it does the job. It looks like my picture-in-picture is working, which is great to see. And obviously, I'm running the Stream Deck. However, I can make this thing give us some issues on stream. So here, watch this. I have my what do they call it? The stingers, the transitions, but they're alpha files, like they're HAP files, and they have to decode, and they're also transparent. So if I play the long one, we'll switch to my overhead for a moment, right? So if I were to go change it to the full long transition and go back to my ACAM, yeah, 10,000 and not lagging is actually impressive. It's insane. Oh, remember, I'm also running this widget on my other screen. I'm also pushing 2 monitors, but I'm running this widget so I can pull the chat up. But here, we're going to run this transition and hope that everything doesn't break. So let's try it. Let's see if this actually holds up. I don't think it's going to. I don't know if it's lagging. I'm checking. Oh my God, it worked. See, I tried this earlier when I wasn't on stream. When I was setting up everything, and it was lagging like crazy. But that being said, 8 gigs of RAM, it was probably a memory leak. I was doing a ton of stuff for a couple of hours, and I hadn't rebooted it. I actually shut it down before the stream now because it doesn't have an active fan. I wanted to cool it down in case, like, I figured it's gonna throttle during the stream, but like if it throttles, who cares? Like, whatever. But I just figured I'd try to get everything working. So yeah, that's that. But now let's do the short transition. We'll go back to desktop for a second. So here's the short transition. Let's see if this works. Yep, we're back on desktop. Kevin K says, "Word up." Duke Seb says, "How you liking the Neo? I'm late to the party." It's not bad. Like again, we're streaming from it right now. That's like for those who. Why do I keep hitting the stupid transition? Well, at least it worked. Okay, cool. So here, let me get this off the screen. We'll pull up our Kevin shared on Reddit. Kevin, you don't have to share it on Reddit. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Yeah, because like I have organic traffic that seems to be coming. So if it's people that aren't into tech, that's probably not going to help the way that the channel's going at the moment. But I appreciate it regardless. Let's see. Would using an ATEM or YOLO box? Yeah, but okay. But now we're over-engineering for over-engineering. So let me put this in perspective. So the fact that this even works is insane because what's the US price point? $5.99? $6.99? I can't remember. I know it's cheap. I have it all written down. I've just been really busy. Yeah, the fact that this works is cheap. Like, you're gonna buy an A10 Neo. Wow, I can't speak today. You're gonna buy an A10 or a YOLO box, but then you're basically paying about half the price of this computer. Well, that's an exaggeration, but you're paying a good percentage of the price of the computer. Like, there's no point at that point. Like, just, use it for what you can. But to be honest, like, you got to think, if I can pull off, I could switch this stream. I could have done this stream in 4K, but the problem is YouTube in their infinite wisdom doesn't do ultra low latency in 4K. And I want to answer the comments quick. 4K worked. Like, I tested it in terms of like recording, which is the same as streaming, right? Like, it's the same encoding. You can do a 4K stream on this. It's fine. But if it can do a 4K stream and work with all of the sources that I'm showing now, and we're going to bring this back in and I can show you guys, look, we haven't dropped the frame yet. This is actually kind of sick. If it can do that, imagine how good this is for productivity. If it can do all this, I'm pretty sure the battery life is probably really good on this. I haven't taken it out yet, which leads to Starphone has an iPhone 6. Yes, I know I missed your question. I got it on launch day. Unfortunately, I spent 2 days trying to migrate one of my Macs to try to get my settings on here, and it wasn't happening. And then by the time I accepted defeat, the weekend came, and as Mark Harnum, who's in the chat, will tell you, it's not Friday and Saturday is not, there's no time to really tinker and do that stuff. Like, our workloads get a little busy. Kevin K is sending a show saying hey to Duke Seb, Stars iPhone, and Your Majesty Yasharaj. I can't read that from here. $5.99 US dollars or $4.99 for EDU. Yeah, that's right. Which is, let's be realistic. Especially with the price of RAM right now, even though this thing only has 8 gigs. But let's put this also in the perspective. Like, it's not, hang on. I wish, actually, hold on a second. I'm going to do the be right back for a second, because I do have a way we can check something. One sec. Okay. All right. Look. I forgot. I have this Amazon temp gun. Let's do this. I don't want to move the computer, but the surface temperature, can you guys see that? You know what? Hang on. I got to change a setting on my computer so I can actually see what is happening here. Okay. So you guys should be able to see that. So that's at the top. 38.3. I'm going to read the chat off my iPad because I had to move my chat. Actually, no, wait, hold on. Let me move my chat down to my main monitor. Now you guys can see the annoyingness that I see with the chat. I don't know why that's the default font, but anyway. Let's go back here. So the top, where I'm going to guess the most of the silicon exists, I'm battling with my key light, so pardon me for that. Come on, guys. For $5.99 US, like, I'm streaming on this thing right now, right? So let's switch back. Yeah, this looks fine. I'm actually full screening to my 4K right now, which I'm going to disable so I can get back to seeing what's happening. And I'm going to take my chat off this screen because it is not serving me there. Kevin K is saying what up to everybody else. Let's see here. I'm pretty impressed because it's cheaper than an iPhone. Did you get the upgraded SSD and Touch ID? A little bit. Yeah. Yeah, it's the upgraded. Okay, so the trackpad. Okay, Your Majesty, Okay. Hi, Kevin K from Bermuda. Awesome. Cool. I like that you guys are chatting. That's awesome. How's the trackpad? I heard it isn't haptic. You're right. It reminds me of the 2012 MacBook Pro. I want to give you a little history lesson there. Not something that's like public, just a personal history. I remembered when they were going to switch to the haptic trackpad, and the entire Apple community got so mad because they were like, the glass trackpad is the greatest thing ever, and you can't mess with it. And Chris Leslie, you might actually remember this. People were up in arms. They were up in arms. They're like, oh, well, they're going to change the trackpad. It's going to ruin everything. And, you know, it's one of the iconic things about Apple. If you Google it, you can find some of those older comments. And now that they've reverted to this glass trackpad here, like, look, it clicks, right? Like, you can see the flex on the bottom. I'm just watching my stream to make sure, because macOS is doing the stupid macOS thing. I'm just making sure it's not destroying the stream. Yeah, you can see it's bowing, right? Like, look at this corner right here. You can see it happening, right? But, I mean, all in all, I'll be completely honest that when I opened it, I completely forgot that this is not the haptic trackpad. So, credit to Apple. That trackpad's dope. Like, it, yeah. Duke said the 2012 Mac Retina was and still is my favorite modern laptop. The original PowerBook G4 will always be my favorite, though. Yeah, so here, stare at this for a second. One moment. I'm still here, but I just want to grab something. So, Duke, you said that the 2020... Kevin's asking a great question. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Duke, look, it's your favorite. The 2012 Retina, covered in dust. I've actually done some videos covering other things where I've adopted USB-C into the USB-A port, which is pretty awesome. I want to get to Kevin's comment because it's great. Actually, sorry, I want to get to this one from Kevin here, which says, what does it say here? I worked on a cruise ship back in the day and back and forth between New York and Bermuda long ago. Beautiful area. Visited St. George and Hamilton every week. Oh, dope. Okay. Should we be using the MacBook Neo for Serato? Okay. I might, and I talked to Mark Harnum about this, but I'm not really gonna, I don't want anybody saying anything about how. And Mark, that includes you. Don't tell anybody. Don't even tell Kevin. You know what? Let's be secretive. I want to be transparent about a couple things. The first is, I do not think I'm keeping this. I think it's going to go back. There's a lot of reasons I want to return it. The first is, I have too many computers. That's a very terrible thing to complain about. It's going to end up as e-waste. However, if I return it, it means it's going to end up on the refurb store. And some lucky customer is going to get it for under the retail price. And it's basically new, right? Unlike Elgato, at least Apple will disclose that. Moving on. Anyway, I am going to try to DJ with it, but I'm going to try something a little bit different. And I'm going to find a way. Actually, I think I found a way to broadcast that online without dealing with DMCA crap. Because at the end of the day, it's a tech demo. And I think I found a way around it. We'll see. I'm pushing this machine. I'm doing things with it that nobody else is really talking about. Like, I know a couple people who've talked about streaming. I haven't seen them yet, but they've probably done it. But in terms of streaming with the MacBook Neo, I haven't seen anybody talk about it. But I haven't seen anybody do it. I've seen people talk about it. I've had conversations with other creators talking about streaming with the Neo, but I just figured I'd try it. I spent the morning. I have today off. I said, you know what, we'll tinker around in the morning. You know, now I'm here having a late coffee, which I shouldn't be having. But yeah. And should we what do you guys think? Should I bring OBS back and we can check on our current utilization? Does that sound like something you guys want to see? This is a tech channel after all. Yeah, we can pull up the graph, although know if iCloud's going to dox me, so let me just like open. Yeah, I'm going to make this relatively reasonably organized on my screen so I can show you all what is happening, right? But if I go back to desktop, yeah, I think that's looking pretty good, like in terms of our usage. Sorry, I know like it's moving everywhere. I apologize. Um, yeah, we haven't dropped any frames. We're maintaining. Our GPU is having some issues though. Like right now, it's not so bad because it's only sending the desktop. But like if I switch back to my main camera, as you can see, my main camera doesn't seem to like it very much. Why only 30 FPS? Because I'm not a cartoon. Um, okay, there's a lot of reasons. First off is a limitation with my camera. My camera can do, let's see, my camera can do 60, but it forces an APS-C crop, so it like punches in. And I'm not moving the camera. Like if you've noticed, the camera's always been in the same place. I ain't moving it. Also, I don't game stream, so I don't like if this looks good. It doesn't have to be 60 FPS. 60 FPS, like if you ever saw the Gerald Undone episode where he toured Steve from Gamers Nexus, his studio, he asked him, well, I don't know if he necessarily asked, but he was like, so you stream in 60 and you produce content in 60? And he was like, number go up was best number on camera, so that's what we've done from the beginning. You know, I think if Steve from Gamers Nexus knew that 30 or 2997 was fine, he would do that, right? I can do 1080 60 because I can do 4K 30 no problem. The problem is why? Like I don't know, it's overkill for a talking head, right? Like I'm not gaming, I'm not doing you know, if I do anything at 60, like I'll stream at 60 if I'm DJing because some of the transitions are faster, and also when I switch to the overhead camera that would be above me when I'm DJing, like that's good at 60 because my hands are moving fast. But like if I'm talking to camera like this, no, I'm not switching things to 60. But yeah, that hopefully answers that question. I don't know why that wasn't on the screen the whole time. That should have been. So I don't like having OBS down on the main screen because it keeps throwing me off. But here, let's go back to it for a sec. Right? Yep, it switched. Yeah. So it's not bad, right? These are my CPU cores, which I can't make this window bigger, can I? I almost hit stop recording. Oh yeah, I am recording and streaming at the same time, but it uses the same encoder, so that doesn't make a difference. Our big thing here, yeah, those are our big metrics that we're really worried about, right? So yeah. So now that this thing's been pinned, I'm going to try the full long transition again to come back to my A camera and see if it completely bricks everything. CPU jumped up to 25, which makes sense. It's trying to decode the HAP transition that I just played. Lockpick. Uh-oh. Speaking of DJs, fairly off the rails. So as you were just joining us, if you saw the description and the thumbnail for this video, this stream is being done with the MacBook Neo. And Kevin K says, hello. I don't know why I use that voice. Yeah, we are streaming off the MacBook Neo. We have a hub with a whole bunch of stuff in there. My Stream Deck is plugged directly into the USB 2 port on the MacBook Neo. And as I was just showing on screen, I still, after, how long has it been? An hour and 2 minutes. After an hour and 2 minutes, I will show you. That's the wrong scene. Whoops. That's what I want. I have not dropped a frame. I haven't dropped a single frame. CPU's at 11, but CPU doesn't mean anything in this particular case because CPU is not what's doing our stream. We are hardware accelerated with an Apple Media Engine. Probably the most underrated part about Apple Silicon is the Media Engine. Okay, so I actually really, really, really want to do a whole video on the media engine. Lockpick says, happy Sunday to Kevin K. Let's see. You know, after all that hoopla about the new Stream Deck, I'm giggling that you are using the regular old XL right now. Yeah, no, and you know what? Here, let's play the fast transition. So, do we drop any frames? You guys gotta let me know if the transitions and all that are smooth. The reason I bought the XL was so that I can keep it at home because, and I've said this on stream before, but I don't know how well. Hang on, let me do something here quick. I just want to be able to see what I'm doing here. Okay, so you'll see like scuff marks up here. This thing has had way better days, and the reason is because this is the Stream Deck that I take out on the road because I actually use it as a macro pad for Final Cut Pro. I have a whole bunch of shortcuts programmed to it, and when I work remotely, I take it with me. But the thing is that at home, I would dock it on my home computer. So I'm just trying to reset OBS in the window. So the Stream Deck has seen better days. So one of my things is I've become so reliant on the Stream Deck that I worried that if it broke, my workflow would go to all hell. So I was always eyeing another Stream Deck XL, but it had been so long since the first one had came out that I didn't buy one because I thought, watch, the second I buy one, they're going to release some new variant. So as soon as it made sense, they happened to bring it out last Monday. And Lockpick, have you watched both videos, by the way? I'm going to take a quick sip of my water. And he says, ah, gotcha. One sec. I didn't want you guys hearing me sipping on water. Okay, so Lockpick, you know what's funny is a lot of the DJ audience from DJ Buddha days watch the content, but don't tell me anything. They don't comment. They don't tell me anything. Engagement. That's the support. No, but I appreciate it. I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate you coming into the chat, and haven't talked to you guys in a while. So, yeah. I'll start commenting. Good. That's what we want to see. I'm gonna reply to you with your own comment. You said you're gonna start commenting. Uh-oh. Yeah. No, I'm fairly impressed for such a low-cost device. Like, yeah, it's probably throttling. You know what? Let's go back to a temperature gun. And I need to full screen my overhead camera so I can see what I'm doing, right? But yeah, we are sitting at a cool 40.7, 40.9, 40.8. It's hard to keep steady and then also like look at the camera to make sure you guys can see the screen, because I don't do this ever, this temp measuring. I usually just do this for my own sake of like checking stuff out. But remember, this thing doesn't actually have a fan, which is pretty insane. That's kind of nuts. Let's see. I appreciate you pushing the Neo. Love it. Thank you. I'm trying stuff that I don't think others have really tried. And like, Phil, let me know if you just, oh, I see some new people in here. Oh God. Yeah, I see Mark commented something. I'll get to that in this. Actually here, he's asking about the temp gun. Is that from the COVID days when they pointed that at your forehead? No. I bought this on Amazon, because I wanted to check temperatures of things, when I was doing videos. Let me go back to Phil Conrad. Philip Conrad, 3652. I'm not blind. Whoever designed this widget in their infinite wisdom made the background bright green with white text. We're using this in studios with lights on us already. That doesn't help. It's almost like you got to go the other way around. Black text, contrast, dark background, white text. Come on. And the thing's kind of broken. I can't change it for some reason. Bro, I want to buy this thing because in the past I couldn't buy a MacBook Air. So this thing will do its job, but is the touchpad good for multi-touch? Yes, it is. Here, you know what? How can I do this so that it makes sense? Okay, I'm going to do something wild. I've never tried this before. Let me see. I go to my overhead camera. We will copy the audio. I'm going to do something for you right now, actually. What's the name? SDK1? SDIK1. All right, this is for you. This is the multi-touch thing. I just need to make something quick. We're going to call you... One sec. We are going to make a scene in OBS. We're going to make something live here. I'm going to call you split screen, overhead, and display. Okay? Because what we're going to do is we are actually going to put... I'm going to make a split screen of my overhead camera. So this camera right here. I'm going to make a split screen of that and my desktop. And then we can check the multi-touch, right? So that way you can get satisfied, because that's actually very important. So just, guys, bear with me. I'm going to just build this super quick. What do I need here? Main desktop. Main desktop. We will take this, and we will take the desktop itself, and we will copy those, right? Split screen. We'll paste it for reference. Okay, and I'm just going to unlock the desktop and size it correctly. Try to get you as centered as possible, although I don't think that's going to happen. There's a slight encoding stutter once in a while. Overall, absolutely impressive for a system without a fan. Yeah, and at its price point. Also, if it's stuttering, it's because I'm like, if you're noticing it now, that might not be a fair thing, only because I'm like messing with scenes and I'm trying to like change stuff so that I can help out our friend in the chat to give them some insight in terms of how the multi-touch is. Okay, I'm gonna lock that there. So that's our desktop. Okay, featured chat. Just gonna turn you off for a second. And then we want our overhead camera. So let us grab our overhead copy. We'll split screen. We'll go paste. And I'm gonna bring you over here. The only thing I'm worried about in doing this is, am I going to destroy my other scenes in the process? That's very likely about to happen, but whatever. The things we do to run a tech channel, right? All right, I don't know. All right, let me lock it. Let's see. Okay, everything looks right. So I'm going to apologize. How to stream my games on the Neo to TikTok. On Mac to TikTok? I have no idea. I don't stream to TikTok. Appreciate the question, though. But yeah, I have no idea how to stream to TikTok. I've never had to do it. Okay, so I'm going to apologize now for how archaic this is. What I am going to do is, just to make my life a touch easier, is I'm actually going to add another button. Paste. And we're going to name you SS. Overhead. I'm adding another button for the overhead. Okay, so that should now work. So if I switch to it, okay, I don't know how good this looks, if it looks good at all. And also, let me know if you can still hear me. But, oh, I just totally did not want to do that. I wanted to LG. Okay, I mean, that works. You can get an idea. It's not perfect. I apologize ahead of time, but we can at least observe how the pinch gestures and all that stuff goes. Just use OBS, let you stream to a ton of platforms natively. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how the TikTok side of that's going to work. Lockpick, by the way, can you still hear me? How can you stream games on Mac to YouTube? There's a million tutorials to do that. This isn't really a streaming tutorial channel. I'll say this. It's actually very easy. You just got to look up something, because it's not something I specialize in, so I don't want to tell people how to do it. Just not a thing. Yeah. It lets you stream to a ton of platforms natively. Yep, sure. Because again, I don't do the streaming thing super often. But I wanted to get back to where is the comment about the trackpad? Philip Conrad, I believe was the name. Is it good for multi-touch? Okay. So here, let's go back to our split screen and let's see. So let me find something that works well with maps. I don't want to pull up because I don't want to dox myself. Actually, no, wait. You know what I can do? I can open maps. I can just point it at something else entirely. Okay. Sorry. For some reason, it keeps throwing stuff on my other monitor, which is super annoying. And macOS Tahoe is being dumb, but whatever. So let me just undox myself here, and I'm gonna pull up. Let's pull up Apple Park. Okay, so I use Mac very often, and you can probably notice that this is fine. Like, look, it feels like my haptic trackpad. Look, Apple Park. And then scrolling, it feels like I don't use natural scrolling. I always turn that off because like right Snow Leopard didn't have it, and then they changed it in Lion, and then it messed me up. So I just have ever since just not used natural scrolling. But yeah, this is Apple Park area. That's 2D, that's 3D. Yeah. I mean, everything looks like it works fine. I don't know. What do you guys think? Yeah. But I hope that answers the question for Phil Conrad because that was a very good question. I get that a lot actually. A few people I've told that I got the Neo, they're like, "How's the trackpad?" But it seems like it works great, to be completely honest. Yeah, I'll pull back Lockpick's comment. Yeah, lets you stream to a ton of platforms natively. So yeah, that's MacBook Neo doing the MacBook Neo thing. So I don't know. And also with doing all of that, let's do an OBS update. I think Kevin is gone and streaming at the moment, Kevin K. Because I believe he does a live stream on his channel on Sundays. But I just want to come back to my desktop and we can see. Yeah, we're getting still fine there. Our frames are not dropping whatsoever. 0 drop frames. We've been on for an hour and 16 minutes. I've been recording for a couple seconds before that. Streaming at 30 frames per second, not 60, because again, this isn't like a super action channel. It's overkill. And yeah, I'd rather save the CPU cycles and the resources for like other things, like making sure the widgets and everything are working. If I was like game streaming, that'd be a totally different story. Let's see. So SD, is it SDLK TK? It's the stupid font. It's driving me nuts. At this price, we needed to do the primary things. And if anybody wants a good touchpad like the Air, or is it better to upgrade? For me, this honestly, okay. Wait. So hold on. Let me ask a question then. Okay, if it's SDick1, that's hilarious. Um, do you have a Neo? And I'm asking because like the trackpad, I like it. I honestly, and I'm this no embellishment, no nothing. I completely forgot this wasn't the haptic trackpad, which is wonderful. Like incredible. You know, I didn't even think about it. And then now that I have it reminds me of my old 2012 Retina that wasn't the haptic trackpad. Very reminiscent of that, but in my experience, that's not a far cry from today's haptic trackpads. Just the size is different. It's just a smaller size. You know, I like to think of this computer, this MacBook Neo. I like to think of it as it says on the sticker, designed by Apple in California. It should really say designed by Apple's accounting department in California because they're using the, what is it? I always mess this up. The bind? is it the binned chip? Is the bin chip the one where the one GPU core is disabled, or is that unbinned? I always get those flipped. But anyway, they're using the chip that has the failed core from TSMC. So they got those chips at a discount because they couldn't put them in the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max because it's one of the GPU cores was disabled because it was defective during manufacturing. But these chips were just going to lay around and do nothing. So they were like, well, we can convert that into profit, right? The 1080p webcam is probably a relic of an older Mac. No, I don't. I have a Windows trash laptop, and for high school, this thing is a dream. Agreed. For real. And yes, you said my name correctly. It is hard. I know. No, it's not that. It's not hard to say. It's the stupid font for this widget. Like, when you highlight a chat to play it on screen, it changes the color. It changes the color to this like really bright thing, but it's like I want to be able to read the chat first before as I have it on screen. So that's pretty dumb. Whoever made this widget needs to have their head shaken because I can't change the font color and it's super mega annoying. And I say that, and then now I'm like, let's make my life difficult and try to fix that because that's going to drive me nuts. Anyway, that explains the way it handles heat. If it's got a portion of the die that isn't being used, it's basically working as an internal heatsink. Sort of. So the portion the GPU core that I'm referring to is so tiny that, and plus it's all relative to what's surrounding it. So that's kind of out there. But like the reason it handles heat so well at the moment, the reason why we're getting these crazy good temperatures, I want to do a whole video on this. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, I'm going to switch back and go back to our temp gun. I have to make this full screen because I can't see Jack. I can't see if you guys can see is basically what I'm saying. So here. So there's a reason why the temperatures lockpick. Just go on YouTube. There's a million of them. It's not about I'm not even going to bother with a stress test because there's like that's kind of been like there's benchmarks, Cinebench, all that stuff's been done. Like it's everywhere. But the more intriguing thing than a speed test, because like synthetic benchmarks don't really mean much about real world performance. The thing that makes the most difference in real world performance is the media engine. It's the most glossed over thing in all of the Apple events, like when they talk about the media engine with Apple Silicon or an iPhone or a Mac or whatever. But the reason why everybody says that the MacBook is super fast and it has insane battery life is a big part to do with the media engine. It has to do with the way that typically people use their devices and why the media engine was essentially the tipping point beyond the tipping point. It was a crazy amount of efficiency because of that. But it's more related to how you use your device. Here's the hint. It has to do with video. Not necessarily making video, but even consuming video. The media engine is powerful. In fact, the reason why I'm streaming at this stream on a computer with 8 gigs of RAM with a nerfed CPU that's missing one GPU core for its internal graphics is because the stream is not taking place on the GPU or the CPU. The stream is taking place on the media engine. The reason you are seeing 10% usage is because I have LUTs and all this other stuff applied in OBS. But the CPU usage, hang on one sec, I'm going to pull it back up for the purposes of explaining, even though the stupid... Okay, I'm getting rid of the GPU graph because it's not serving us anything. It's just getting in my way. So, again, look, I just spiked it to 11.1. That's probably because the stupid GPU graph was like totally obstructing my frame here. But yeah, this 9-10%, it's just filters. It's just stuff that's occurring within Sorry, I just got a text message, and I forgot to put my phone in D&D, so my phone could have rang the whole time. That would have been annoying. Um, yeah, like honestly, this is dope. This is actually incredible. 10%. Because again, the media engines, what they do is they leave the CPU and the RAM and the GPU open to do other things. That's why people are so freaking out about like the the M5 Pro and the Max, because they have more media engines in them and they have higher clocks. But the thing is, if you're exporting a video, traditionally you would use your GPU and your CPU in tandem to do all your effects and all that stuff, but it would also use the same CPU to encode the video. And that would make everything take forever. But now you have the media engine, which its sole purpose is to do encode and decode. So that takes the stress away from the GPU and the CPU. So it can handle things like rendering the 3D effects around whatever you're rendering. And your CPU can be used for calculating like motion blur and stuff like that, like on a timeline. So the thing is that like we talk about stress tests, but that's from the traditional standpoint. But the reason why Apple Silicon seems to stand like heads and shoulders above everybody at the moment, is because they have the media engine. And the thing is, quietly, Intel's trying to answer them. Like they have Panther, I think it's Panther Lake. I can't remember the naming for this next generation. Unless Panther Lake's the current gen, I don't know. I gotta like reread on that. But basically, their newer chips that were announced at CES have a media engine, but their media engine is actually, in a lot of ways, is better than the Apple Silicon media engine because it does AV1 encode. So when you have H.264 videos, which is what I'm broadcasting in right now, if you went to HEVC, you could probably use a third of the bandwidth but get the same quality of video. You can use a third of the size, which is amazing. But the two problems with that is, one, your hardware had to support it. Now all the hardware supports it. But two, it's not an open source codec. It's like there's licensing. Like if you look at Germany, Asus and Acer, I believe, don't quote me on that, they actually did. Siri just went off. I hate that so much. They just did a bunch of benchmarks or not benchmarks, sorry, they just went through a bunch of litigation, and they are no longer allowed to ship laptops with HEVC because of a licensing dispute with Nokia in that region. Crazy stuff. AV1 is an open codec. I don't know if it's open source. I think it's just an open codec, so you don't need to pay a licensing on it. And Intel's supporting it. Like Intel, I think Battlemage, like all the ARC stuff also is all doing hardware encode. The new CPUs from Intel are going to be doing the encode. Apple only does decode of AV1 at the moment. But that's where Intel is going to try to push ahead. But it's a very niche thing. I don't see Final Cut and DaVinci and Adobe Premiere users using AV1 in their workflows necessarily. Like if you're doing big pipeline stuff, you don't care about AV1. But it's cool. It's very cool. But the media engine is why this computer is able to do what it does. Because I promise you now that if this was the same Apple Silicon, but it didn't have the media engine, this kind of stream that I'm doing right now wouldn't be happening. It just would not work. And I just want to flex one more time because we still haven't dropped the frame. We are at 1 hour and 30. And on that note, I'm going to go soon because an hour and 30 is plenty for the stream. But yeah, I hope I didn't get too far in the weeds there. That whole thing that I just said is basically the reasoning why these chips are so impressive. What makes this more impressive is that this cell phone, this iPhone 16 Pro Max, has the same chip as this computer. The funny anecdote that's going on right now is that Apple's new Pro Display XDR has more RAM. It has more RAM and a better processor than one of Apple's computers. That's one of Apple's newest computers, which is hilarious. The Studio Display XDR has the A19 Pro, 128 gigs of storage, which I guess it needs for like updates and stuff like that, and 12 gigs of RAM. 8 gigs is painful with this computer. I'm not gonna lie. Like this thing, we're definitely hitting swap territories, but it's working. Like you guys are seeing, again, if you're just joining the stream, if you're just getting here, right? So this is my main scene. This is my overhead scene, right, with the Lumix GH5 Mark II in manual focus. Got a cam link over here. This is all going through a wavelength hub. But cam link, I've got my overhead camera. The cam link is for my main camera, the S5 Mark II. This is my overhead camera, GH5 Mark II. This is a capture card for the iPad, which is right here, right? You can see that. HDMI for 4K 60. And then we got our power pass-through going into the computer itself. And then we got the Stream Deck going into the single USB 2 port on the side. And Duke Seb has chimed in with perfect machine for an IT administrator. Absolutely. I think it's overkill. But then again, like an IT administrator can, like, you know, you could open like your dashboard or whatever you're using to keep an eye on things, and you can play YouTube in the corner, and you're probably not going to see a lot of battery drain because it has a media engine to handle decode, you know. So again, we've been streaming, we've been running this for so long that what I am going to do one more time, let's do a heat check. Because again, we're using the media engine. That's why this thing's not overheating to the moon. There's no fans on it. But I've been streaming 1080p at 60. And here, we'll go to the middle. Let's just really move this around. Yeah, like, we're streaming fine. And look, I'm even playing like the previews on like my main screen right here. Now, I saw some people complaining about the display quality. You have to consider what price point this computer is. I think for the price, look, even at other price points, I've seen worse monitors than this thing. It's not the brightest thing in the world. What is it, like 500 nits? It's SDR only, but it's also a $600 USD computer. So like, let's really, really put that into perspective for a second. The fact that I can stream on it, like this is overkill for people who are going to be using it for school. The 16 Pro series have just one more multi-core than the Neos. No, so it's the GPU core. So the CPU cores are the same. I believe it's... You know what? We're just going to do this. Let's just... I'm going to take these other graphs off screen because they're telling me nothing. All right, so I'm on Apple's Canadian website. So here, let's switch to desktop. Okay, let me just take the comment off screen so that we can actually see. Kevin says, get that thing mining some Bitcoin in the background. I don't think it's going to do much. Oh, it's Gary Did. Hey. I love your style, showing things and explaining things. Thanks for all your hard work. Thanks for making that video with the Excel prompter for me the other day. I actually made that like a month ago. I think you just saw it the other day. The real question is this better than an iPad? And to me, yes. Duke. I'm gonna pull this up. Thanks. I love your streaming setup. You're doing a great job. Thank you. And you know what? That means a lot actually, because this is my M3 Max right here. Okay. This is what I normally stream from. This is like my workhorse. I have an M4 Max in the studio, but this is like my workhorse. So I stream off it. I spent like 2 hours and migrated all the settings, not all of the computer settings, just the streaming stuff over to the Neo so I can do this stream. I didn't think this was actually going to work as well. Can't use a drawing tablet like the Wacom with USB. It probably can. Like, okay, so, was it Mr. What is it? Delusion? It's not delusion. It's Zion. Sure. No, okay. So what you're looking at right now is streaming from this thing. We are actually streaming live with the Neo, and I've had to say this like a million times. I've got a USB-C hub from Wavelength here, getting power delivery, running camera A, overhead camera, which is what you're looking at now. This is camera A that's going to a cam link. Overhead, the iPad, right? So this is just so that, you know, if I want to pull up something on the iPad, I can. My main desktop, which I have the Apple website open, and I did a split screen for someone so I can show how good the Magic Trackpad is, which is pretty damn solid. But yeah, it's It's dope. You could probably, if you don't have a touch screen, it's not like an iPad. There's no touch sensitive. There's no touch reactiveness whatsoever on the screen. It's just a normal screen. But like, yeah, you can get this and pull a Wacom tablet next to it. The only thing is you're going to be limited on ports, which is why Wavelink. Fun fact: this Wavelink adapter is actually going to be the company Wavelink is going to sponsor that MacBook video because, and I actually reached out to them because that hub, I've taken it to DJ gigs. I have beaten the crap out of this thing like years ago. I've had it and I would stream with it and it still works. So I told them, I said, listen, like just, we'll work out a streaming deal. Just like there's a streaming deal. We'll work out a brand deal. Just don't send me a new one. Let me use the old one because I want people to see that the thing is durable. Like it works. It's amazing. So, I haven't been paid from them yet. So it's not really a sponsor. This isn't a sponsored stream. This is just describing what's coming. That's going to be sponsored. But yeah, I talked to them about that and we agreed that that's probably the way to go. But anyway, your main thing with the Neo is you're going to run low on ports if you're going to connect things like tablets and stuff like that. But I want to go back to Apple's website because we were talking, it was the, yeah, about the processor. This is why I came here. So let us go to learn more. Let me take this comment off screen. This is where I left off earlier. Every time, let me see. Okay, so that is clear. Let me go back over here, get the highlights, go to tech specs. Okay, A18 Pro. It's 5-core GPU, 6-core CPU. Oh God, my default is Bing? No. No, Microsoft. So you'll notice this is like lagging because we're running up on my RAM limits. Address bar search engine. Okay, you know what? I'll deal with that later. A18, iPhone 16 Pro, tech specs, display, chip. 6-core CPU, 6-core GPU. Okay. So 6-core CPU, 5-core GPU. Okay, that's our difference. So I hope that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that was to answer. Yeah, this was the SDIC one. Yeah. So to answer your question, it's the 16 Pro has one more GPU core, but like the GPU core on an iPhone is gonna really be more about gaming, and this machine is not made for gaming. Okay, like you're not running Cyberpunk on this thing. Yeah. But yeah, I want to go back to this comment because part of why I was streaming today was to see if I could even pull it off, and it seems to be working better than I even anticipated it would work. Right? So if I were to pull OBS back here, we can take a look at my desktop and you'll see we still haven't dropped any frames. We've been going for 1 hour and 36 minutes. My CPU, which is probably just handling running OBS and maybe like the LUT and the filters and stuff, is hovering around between 10 and 12%. We know that my GPU is getting thrashed right now, but the GPU, I don't think that's really GPU. I think that that's the media engine. But yeah, that's why I was doing the stream, because I just wanted to see if this would actually work. And I thought it'd be interesting to try to stream. And if I mess it up, it completely destroys my reputation for the entirety of like a billionth of a percent of YouTube even watching my content. Does anybody have any more questions about the MacBook Neo, the Elgato Stream Deck situation? Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably gonna jump off soon. Big shout out to Gary Did. That prompter video I did with the brightness test, that was literally sparked because I saw that question and thought, shoot, I didn't measure brightness. And then, you know what's funny? In that video, I said I need to recalibrate my monitors. Do you know that this spider checker, this thing, has been sitting in this room since I did that video? I still haven't calibrated my monitors. That's hilarious. Yeah. Even Cyberpunk can work at 30 FPS with low settings, but Macs aren't made for gaming even in the future. I don't know about even in the future. They spent all this money behind Apple Arcade. I firmly believe that one day they're gonna like surprise everybody with like some GPU monster computer. Like maybe not like 5090 levels, but like something that's like really, really better than what they have. And they're gonna make Apple Arcade like the Apple version, the Apple-esque version of like a Steam launcher. Did they give you a refund for the Stream Deck? No, so you did not watch the second video. So there was never I never wanted a refund. I don't know where that came from. I never used the word refund in any of the videos. I never said refund on any of the threads. I said what I wanted was them to give me, I paid for a brand new unit, give me a brand new unit. Don't send me something with like scratch marks and all that. No, I didn't want a refund. I wanted a brand new in-box Stream Deck X Plus XL. I hate the name, by the way. Can we just get that out of the way? Stream Deck Plus XL. Like, they could have, but they should have called it the Stream Deck XL Mark II. I know why they put the plus on it, because the plus implies that it has a screen and the knobs and all that crap. Fine, sure. But the name's dumb. Stream Deck Plus XL. That doesn't hit right. Just call it the Stream Deck XL Mark II. And if you really want to put the plus in there, call it the Stream Deck Stream Deck XL Mark II Plus. that sits. No, Duke. I have to send the other one back. Will you guys watch the video? I literally said in the video, and I said, I'll exchange it. I don't know why. This is a thing. There's a comment, and I mentioned this earlier in the stream. There's a comment where somebody went off on my ass. They flipped out on me. It's held for review on YouTube. I didn't put it there. YouTube automatically did because they were dropping F-bombs and all sorts of stuff, and YouTube was like, yoink. So it ended up in like in purgatory, comment purgatory. So Elvis K, I'll explain that in a second. I'll get to your comment in 1 sec. So basically, this person went off in the comments. They were going absolutely crazy. And they implied that I was asking for a free Stream Deck. I never wanted a free one. Like, maybe different people have different levels of understanding. All I wanted, I'm going to make this so simple. All I wanted was I paid for a brand new product 2 days after the 2 days after the device launched, which means in my mind, when you hear that, there is no chance that you are getting a used device. And somehow the following day, so if it came out on the Monday and I ordered it on the Wednesday, I received it on the Thursday, which that was alarming as it was. But then when I got, because it's supposed to come from the States and go through customs, it's supposed to have a packing slip from customs and all that stuff. However, that being said, it came used. And I'm like, hold on, I didn't pay for a used product. If I was going to pay for a used product, I would have waited a few months and bought it off somebody on Facebook Marketplace that had buyer's remorse and missed their return window and got it cheaper, right? Like, I'm not buying something that a company says is brand new and then getting a used one. That's crazy. And you guys should, especially like Duke, you should really watch the second video if you haven't already, because my analogy was hilarious. Oh no, you did. Yeah, you commented on it and you gave me some Seinfeld quote that I didn't understand because I'm not a Seinfeld guy. But yeah, anyway, TLDR or TLDW, I didn't want a refund. I don't have 2 for 1. I have to send the other one back. They sent me a packing slip. That's going back tomorrow. Whatever. Real Elvis K asks, do you use OBS? How do you highlight comments? I use OBS and I'm using a plugin called Chat Ninja. It's a browser extension. It's a little clunky and I think you got to really play with it for a while. Finally, we're getting some comments. We're getting some action here. Sweet. Good stuff. Yeah, so I'm highlighting the comments. It's in the browser extension. Yeah. I wonder, can I show you? I think I'm going to make my life easier. Go to second display. Let me see here. I'm actually going to show you what's on my second display so you can see how I'm doing the comments. Just bear with me 1 second. macOS screen capture. Second display. Oh my god. We'll just call you LG. Sure. Okay, display capture. We're going to capture this. Hit OK. We will lock it. Throw you on top. Okay, and that is what I see on the second display. So I see my OBS window right here. And then this is the chat. Look at the font, by the way. This is so stupid. So incredibly stupid. So yeah, when I want to hit a comment, I press this and it should pop up on stream, which it did not because my featured is not there. My featured needs to be up here. There we go. Yeah. So 1 Thunderbolt A and 1 USB 2 would have been the icing on the cake. I don't think that's possible. I know what you're saying and I agree. However, if you put Thunderbolt on this computer, if this port right here was Thunderbolt, this MacBook would cost $1,200 because Apple will add a price on it, but they have to license Thunderbolt. So they went with USB 3. They could have went with USB 4, which is kind of Thunderbolt. It's like Thunderbolt adjacent. It's 40 gig, but it's not really Thunderbolt. It's like Thunderbolt 3. The whole purpose of USB-C was to make it simpler, and it just made it more complicated. But if they license Thunderbolt technology for this computer, it drives the price way up. So I get it. This is why this is the accountant's MacBook. Because like the 1080p camera, they probably have a ton of Touch ID secure enclaves laying around. They obviously have a bunch of iPhone 16 Pro logic boards laying around. This screen reminds me of the 12-inch MacBook, but it's like in the 13-inch form factor. It is a Retina screen, which is cool. Maybe it's from an old 13-inch Retina MacBook, like Surplus. The one thing that I think they could have done without really having much sacrifice in terms of price, like raising the price. The keys, I wish this was backlit. It's like an off-white. I don't want to move it because I'm going to pull that USB and I don't know how strong that is and I don't want to disconnect the stream. But the keys are like, they're white, but they all have like a subtle tint of whatever the chassis color is. So this one's like that indigo blue. So the keys are white, but they have a hint of that indigo blue. They could have made them backlit, I think. But then at the same time, they would have to do white keys with a white backlight. Because if you do black keys on this, it would just look weird. And they went for the whole Neo branding, which is confusing. So, yeah. But Thunderbolt would have been nice, but not yet. I think it's going to be wow. Mac chips are capable of running AAA games, but the problem is that the devs doesn't want to support Mac for the next maybe 5 or 6 or even 10 years. It won't be able to Windows. It won't even be close to Windows gaming experience. I agree. You know the Mac porting toolkit for OpenCL or OpenGL? I think it's OpenGL. Is a Windows app. And if you look up WWDC 2023, I want to say. No, it's an older one. You can find the Windows executable by Apple to help transition the OpenGL stack, like the stuff you use on Windows, like Windows Gaming, to work with Metal, the Metal engine on Apple Silicon. Imagine custom opens the box just to ensure. I don't know what you're saying there. Imagine customs open the box just to ensure. Okay, I want to answer this one first. I skipped. You know what? Here we'll get Dukes out of the way because make sure you just don't confuse them and return the one I peed on. Yeah, got it. It's an inside joke. If you haven't seen the video, watch the video on the Elgato situation. Should be good enough to play all Apple Arcade games fluidly. I can't see why not. You might have to turn some settings down. I don't know because like that's a tough one because the iPhone 16 Pro Max display is pretty good, and then this display is like just it's bigger. I don't know if the resolution is that much different. Not an Apple guy, but by reviews by real people and not a paid sponsorship is definitely the way to go. Yeah, and here's the thing, like I'm not sponsored. I bought this thing. I'm also probably returning it. Okay, I want to address this because I don't think you were here for the whole thing. We are currently right now streaming from the MacBook Neo. Okay, it works. Like I'm sending 1080p at 30. I can do 4K 30. I don't know about 4K 60, but this is overkill for a student. Like if you can pull this off, and again, I just want to make sure it's still working. Yeah, I'm going to just show you really quick. Right? Main camera, overhead camera, desktop, right? My iPad, all of that is connected here. So capture card for my main camera, overhead camera, iPad, HDMI out going to the monitor that's off screen over here. And it works. And if I hit transitions, hopefully it doesn't like destroy everything, right? So if I hit a transition, it works fine. And literally we're working on the MacBook Neo right now. Like that's what you're watching. And to reiterate, stop doing the transition. I wish I could tell it to just snap back. So let me get rid of your comment really quick because I just want to show you. If you look down here, oh my God. The only thing I hate about this is that it ships with macOS Tahoe and you have no choice. I haven't dropped a single frame and I've been streaming for an hour and 50 minutes. So for a student that needs a computer, it takes more grunt from a computer to create content and stream. And the stream is perfectly fine. It takes way more computing power to do that than to consume content. Okay? So, streaming and content creation and 3D rendering and all that stuff, put that up here, okay? You're not doing 3D rendering on this computer. I would not recommend that. But for content creation, light content creation and live streaming, light live streaming, put that here. That is the high end. It takes, this is the lower end, and this is consumption, like watching YouTube videos, just browsing the internet, that stuff. That's like down here, okay? But let's move the scale. So now this would be your consuming content layer. Down here is your productivity, and what I'm measuring here is the amount of performance that you need. This computer is overkill. So now, the stutter. Is the stutter during the transition or it's right now while I'm streaming? Because I'm not totally sure. I'm getting 0 drop frames. You know what I can pull up? I think I know why. I don't think it's the stream that's dropping frames. I think I have stats. Okay, so I'm looking at my stats right now. We're using 300 or 711 megs of data or of memory. We're recording. This is our bit rate at 10. Average time to render is 15 milliseconds. Yeah, we're missing frames due to rendering lag. So that might be what you're seeing. Yeah, so, okay. Here, I'll pull that up. It's when I do something else. Like, it's random. Okay, so, okay, I can make it stutter now. So if I go back, I'm going to make you stutter. That wasn't weird. So these two buttons here are different scenes, right? So this is my short transition. So I'm going to hit this. And when I hit it now, it's going to stutter, right? I know that for a fact. And the reason, if I press it, right now when I come back, and even like during that, oh, I could even see it a little bit in the preview. It's stuttering because the media engine can't handle that codec. That codec is not a standard codec. I do not expect the media engine in Apple Silicon to handle that. So the CPU kind of flies through the roof, right? And then I have the long version of the transition, which I'm going to play, and it's probably going to go absolutely batshit crazy. But here, we'll switch to my overhead. So this one, yeah, I can see the average time to render frame flew up. My CPU is at like 40% now. And now my CPU went from 18% down to 12. Yeah. So that explains that. But I'm just going to use the cut. But yeah, when I do those, I can see it. And also a big part of that too is RAM. Okay, I don't know why it's giving me that error message. That has nothing to do with anything. All right, let's get back to chat here. It's totally fine though, right? Yeah. All right. Let's see. Adam Heyman 6125 says, "Man, I'm getting an M4 Air. That's going to be awesome. That is going to be very nice. Um, this is like the equivalent of an M1 MacBook Air with slightly faster multi-core. So, and the fact that and it's only got 8 gigs of RAM. So, Adam, what's the spec? Like how much RAM, process, which, well, I know what processor, it's just M4. But how much RAM, what size hard drive? Curious. How about DaVinci Resolve? I don't use DaVinci Resolve, so I can't answer that. There's a billion videos on people trying that. Nope, that didn't stutter. Once in a while, you just buffer to like 5 seconds. That's interesting. 5 seconds or like milliseconds? 5 seconds is insanely bad. Let's see. I've noticed on my streams, if I play a lot of animations, it really bogs it down. Well, the reason is because the codec you're using is pushing the CPU heavily, so that causes it all to bog down. If your hardware accelerated, it shouldn't be as bad. But you know, yeah, that's my thing about playing animations. It could be GPU related as well, so you might want to take a look at that. Exerstein, Mr. Daisian, sure. I'm so sorry. Last question, and thank you for the whole help. Would you recommend an M1 Air or probably not, because Apple would not update that model in a couple of years? Okay, I'm going to show you what I recommend. I have an idea. This might make it stutter. I'm using more RAM. I'm opening up an Edge tab because I don't feel like opening another app. So here, let's go to my desktop. Okay. And let me just get rid of the chat right here for a sec. Okay. Let's scroll way down, and we are going to go to the certified refurbished. Right? Browse all. Whoops. Go to Mac. Refurbished Mac. Release year. Oh, interesting. They have stuff from 2021. Oh, it's an iMac Studio Display. See, what I'm thinking if you can get like an M2. I wouldn't get an M1 at this juncture. And I say that because we are starting to see support disappear. Like the Studio Display XDR cannot do 4K, what is it, 4K 120? Is that the spec of that monitor? It doesn't work at full spec on the M1 Max. The M1 Max can't drive it. So they're recommending, I believe, M3 and beyond. Possibly M2 as well. So yeah, I wouldn't get an M1 anything. To be honest, you're better getting like an M2 or an M3. You know. Yeah, I just read a comment. Let me see what's happening here. I got the 15.3 inch 16 gig unified memory, 512 gig storage, midnight. That's for your MacBook Air. That's the M4. That's a solid machine. If you don't mind my asking, what'd you pick that up for? Interesting. I use the NVIDIA codec, but running a game of 4K in the stream at 2K and all the time the other animations, that tasks a lot. So you're using NVENC. So that's hardware encoding on NVIDIA. That should be fine. Oh, I'm a slow typer, Adam Heyman says. And sorry, I'm at the family, so I'm not using text-to-speech. No problem. It's all good. Star has an iPhone 6. Oh, it's from 2021. Sees iMacs that are $2,000. I honestly think that the iMac is not a good value proposition. Could you imagine buying an all-in-one computer and then you're not able to adjust the height? That alone disqualifies it for me. Like that's crazy. I could never recommend a computer that sits on your desk that can't be adjusted up and down. Like, sorry, I can imagine that. Not at that price point. That's insane. But then again, Apple also charged like what $1,000 for a stand, and was like, Idiots. I say idiots. I just try to make money. I get it. It's funny. 1079 after tax, 1146. Okay, so that is not bad. 1146 is not bad. For those who are, I see people joining in and leaving, so I'm just going to reiterate it one more time. We are currently streaming on the MacBook Neo. This thing is amazing. Sometimes Apple infuriates me on their pricing. Makes me glad I'm not an Apple guy, but I feel terrible for people who are. You know what? I used to think that way. I did. I just want to say that what I was saying quick. We're streaming on the MacBook Neo. See? All the wires and all the stuff is happening. But yeah, let me get to this comment. So sometimes Apple infuriates me with their pricing. You know what? I used to think that. But then I saw today, this is a great example. I saw a video today from a creator who was highlighting a portable NVMe. What was it? It was an NVMe portable RAID that's battery powered with a screen. Not foregoing the price of storage right now, because storage is absolutely out of control. The device alone was $1,800, and I believe that's US dollars. Insane. However, the people who buy those devices are in a different echelon in terms of their work requirement. They might have a client that's paying them like $20K for a 30-second commercial. Right? So the economy of scale starts to change there. I don't think Apple cares about the people who says they're too expensive. Because at the same time, and I'm not going to say that Windows can't do what Mac does. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that Apple has been a little more embracing of that culture to invite that community in. So I find doing video that I just love being on Mac. Any software application, I am moving off Windows except for my flight sim computer. Ooh. I'm biased. I would say Mac OS. But again, if you're willing to pay the Mac tax, don't Hackintosh, because that's basically going to be end of life after this year, because Tahoe was the last operating system to support Intel. How am I finding the Neo so far? Let's go back to the Neo. I love it. I'm going to return it, but I love it. Let's see. I botched the spelling on software for Mac OS. Adam Heyman says, that's okay. It's all good. Happens. Yeah, let me go. Sorry. How am I liking it so far? Sorry, this widget's freaking out. It's not even the computer doing it. The widget does this sometimes, even on my M3 Max. Where was it? Okay, there we go. How you finding it so far? I'm going to be picking up the 512 gig in Indigo. Well, guess what? That's what this is. This is the 512 gig in Indigo. I love it, but I'm going to return it. Only because I wanted to get it for testing and doing some YouTube videos. It's going to end in a month or so. This exact model will probably be on the refurb store for less money, so somebody else can benefit from it being returned. I think a bunch of these are going to end up on the refurb store, but this is the 512 gig with Touch ID. I really toyed with the idea of keeping it, but I also felt like it would be very wasteful because I have an M3 Max, which is right here, which I take on the road and do a ton, I'd say with the exception of one video, all my YouTube videos are done with the M3 Max. I'm going to pull your comment off the screen for a second so you can actually see the M3 Max, but it didn't pull off the screen because this widget is losing its mind. Yeah, I do all my videos on this thing, the workhorse, but I also stream with it. So, and I have an iPad M5. Duke said earlier, I don't know if, yeah, Duke is still here. I think it was Duke. Duke Seb mentioned about, is the iPad better than this thing? You know what I would love to see? And I hope John Turnus, when he inevitably succeeds Tim Cook as the CEO, he can put this into action. Imagine you had a developer account with Apple and you wanted to run macOS on an iPad. So what would happen is you would have to have the. Do I have it up here? I had it here somewhere. I don't know where the hell it is. No, it's gone forever. The iPad Magic Keyboard and trackpad. The case. If you have that case, you could. I wish there was like a developer mode you could put the iPad in to install macOS on it, and then you just don't get the touchscreen. So then you just use the Magic Keyboard and mouse that connects to the magnetic port on the back. And the reason I say this is because this stupid M5. This is an M5 iPad Pro. I'm not doing like. I think you could get some enthusiasts to buy iPad Pros if you did that. Like, this thing is insane. Okay, like, I'm not an artist, but I have an I'll explain one day. I'll explain how I got this M5 iPad. It's insane. It's an insane device. But I think it would be better suited because now we have computers with iPhone chips running Mac OS. Why can't we have iPads running Mac chips running Mac OS? You guys get what I'm saying? So, yeah. Yeah, so anyway, how am I finding the Neo? I kept meaning to get to this. It is awesome. It is very awesome. For a student, a part of me, I'm either going to return it or I'm going to give it to my mom as a gift, but I know she's like, don't give me a computer. You give me too much technology. Because I gave her an iPad for Christmas. And if you saw I think my first video on this channel was me buying the iPhone 13 Pro Max and then buying a second one for my mom for, iPhone. These days, there's any difference on what one can do compared to the other. I don't know about that, but between PC and Mac, yeah. Apple has the ecosystem down to an art, unlike Microsoft. I'm not gonna totally like crap all over Microsoft, but I am gonna say this, that you're in trouble when a Windows update destroys the boot sector on a hard drive. I think like hang on, you were frozen before you said you loved the Neo right when you clicked something. It's the stupid widget. It's the browser extension. That's why it's freezing. It's the browser extension. Because the browser extension is Chromium, and we all know what that means. Chrome is like a memory hog. So it's probably like... so watch, it'll freeze now. It probably froze there. Let's see. Or maybe it's just me freezing because I'm reading. And again, yep, the Neo looks sick. If I was going to stay with Windows, also I'd have to get a Neo, but I am moving off fully, so I got the M4. That's a great point. Sorry I'm not answering the comments as quick. I want to give everybody like proper attention, but yeah. Before I answer this one, that makes a lot of sense, to be honest. It's definitely not for everyone, especially if you already have a much more powerful Mac. Yeah, I think in this case, it would be e-waste for me to keep it. Because like I have an M5, I have M5 here, M4 in the studio, M3 I take day to day. The Neo is a fun experimental thing, but I don't want to keep it and spend my money on an experiment. Like, I don't mind spending money on an experiment. Like, I spend money on experiments all the time. That's what this whole flipping channel's become. But, or I spend money to yell at the brand and then get a bunch of views because I yelled at the brand. So there's that. But no, I don't think... I'm going to read that comment in a second. That's hilarious. Yeah, I don't think it's worth spending, especially in Canadian dollars, because in Canada, this computer is a lot more. Yeah, let me just pull it up here in Canada, because I know Chris told us the price earlier, but like, look at this. If I were to pull up the price, the base configuration in Canadian dollar happens to be $799. Okay. Again, $799. You know what? I'm going to go back to my split screen for a second because people were asking about the trackpad. I don't blink. Yeah, it's working. This is lag from Microsoft Edge. And I'm only using Edge because I need the stupid browser extension so I can pull the chat up and throw it on the screen. And yeah, but ooh, funky. Yeah, $7.99. But on the bright side, the touchpad works wonderfully. So yeah. Man, I never realized how bad my spelling was if I'm not using text to speech. I'm going to say the opposite. I was trying to use text to speech earlier because my hands were full. I was doing something down here and I was trying to use it. Do you know that Apple makes a codec called ProRes? Right? It's their codec. It's their video codec. Somebody asked me something video related and I said, oh, you can export in ProRes. And it spelled it PROREZZZZZZ. I'm Canadian, so not Z. ZZZZZ. I'm like, really? You really couldn't spell your own thing? Like if I say M4 Max, it always lowercases the Max, and I'm like, but you're branding. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that is insane. I'm assuming you're talking about the pricing. Yeah. What voice is Edge using for read aloud? Apple's is awful. I don't. Whatever Copilot. I think you mean Copilot, Microsoft Copilot. I'm not sure, but yeah. The reason Apple is so bad at dictation and like everything AI related is because they do everything on device, and they don't want to like load your computer up with like an LLM because then you're not gonna have much of a computer left after, like in terms of storage and stuff like that. So that's why they're partnering with Google, with Gemini to make Siri better. But my understanding is they're literally going to. Sorry, I just remembered something. They're literally going to try to do a deal with Gemini, but they want Google to put Gemini's algorithm or their LLMs or whatever secret sauce Gemini is. They want it to live on Apple servers for Siri, which I think is very interesting. Don't go off phone, I swear to God. Whoa, super chat. What is this? Hang on. Hello Wave Funeral. Thank you so much. MacBook Air M1 or MacBook Neo? I'm gonna say MacBook Neo. Depending on storage needs. If you need more storage, get an M1 or an M2. The reason I'm not very bullish on the M1. Sorry, I just saw another comment here. The reason I'm not bullish on the M1 is that if you look at the Mac Studio Display XDR, the Apple Studio Display XDR, it doesn't do the full spec with an M1. So it looks like there's certain bottom tier Apple Silicon that's not being supported moving forward. And spend your money right. I would get an M2, or if you could find a good deal on an M3, but just make sure that like it's not MDM locked, like you don't get scammed basically. But yeah, I would avoid an M1. The Neo is very interesting. I would say if you're getting the Neo, just get the 512. Touch ID. You don't want to be entering your password as many times as you have to enter your password when you don't have Touch ID. That alone is almost worth more than the storage, in my opinion. That's just my hot take. If you right click on the browser and read, the dictation feature within Microsoft Edge. Okay, I get what you're saying now. Yeah. It is super useful, but the read aloud voice on the iPhone is so bad. Oh yeah, it's awful. Is it true that it's normal for shipped electronics to have their stuff break during shipping and for fingerprints to be on them even if they're brand new? As a YouTube Premium subscriber, a long time ago, I got this Nest Mini. And if Elgato is in the chat, I'd like to jump in here and give this a little focus. Just bear with me. I just want to see exactly what I am doing. Okay, sorry that my camera is shaking because it's on a C stand. So this might be foreign to people who work at logistics at Elgato, but that's what shrink wrap looks like. And crazy enough, and this is absolutely wild. This is crazy work that I even have to say this out loud. But this is what a brand new product looks like that hasn't potentially or allegedly sent to an influencer. So that's my answer about that. Voodoo, I saw your comments on the video, or videos, plural. It's the second time I've taken that thing. Look, I've bought other Elgato products, for God's sakes. I just want to thank, I want to thank Hellaway Funeral for the super chat. You really didn't have to do that. That's amazing, though. Thank you so much. Voodoo. Yeah, I consider myself a really, really terrible comedian. Let's see here. Let's show this comment. I don't know why it's hiding some of them. Let's see. I have a backup. I don't know what word. I wish I was watching at home. Okay, I think I knew what you were saying. Voodoo Weightlifting says, yeah, I was a bit disappointed to see that I actually have 2 Stream Deck Pluses and was considering just selling them both and buying the XL Plus. Yeah, well, if you didn't notice, I'm streaming on the MacBook Neo, and I've made it work. This is in the USB 2 port. But yeah, I have an XL. This is my Rode XL. I take this out when I work remotely because I use it as a glorified macro pad for video editing when I go to Starbucks to write my Hollywood script. No, when I work remotely, I bring the Stream Deck because there are certain things I need to repeatedly type for work. I need to insert that into certain things that I do with video editing, and I just have it all pre-programmed. A lot of export commands, some SH scripts that run video encoding in terminal because I have watch folders. I have a whole entirely different system for that versus how I do YouTube videos. It's also why I'm able to do YouTube videos as fast as I've been able to as of late. But yeah, the XL was so that I can have one that stays home, because if this thing ever broke, I'd be completely screwed in terms of work because I rely on it so much. But after seeing this fiasco, I'm just going to wait for a while. One got skipped. Let me fix it. I have a backup Pixel for read aloud that is end of life. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes more sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So back to Voodoo Weightlifting. Yeah. It's sad. It's really sad. Also, I made a comment on the Prompter. I forgot to make a comment on the Prompter XL video. Right now, you'll notice I'm reading the comments off screen. I would have rather been reading them off the prompter. But in Elgato's infinite wisdom, they didn't include a separate power. Oh, no, wait, I did put that in the second video. Yeah, they didn't put a second power on the monitor, which is a problem because I can't use the prompter with the MacBook Neo. I can use it if I use nothing else. If I don't use a hub, I can use it. If I use a hub, USB-C, the maximum wattage I think it can spit out is 7.5 watts, I believe. Unless it's otherwise specified, but you only see that on Thunderbolt docks. You'll see 36 watts or whatever they put on a Thunderbolt dock. The prompter wants 14 watts, just over 14 watts. So I can't use it with the MacBook Neo and have other devices. What would have solved this is if the prompter had a second USB-C port for supplementary power. And the thing, it's called the XL, which means it's big, which means they had room. There's no excuse. It's stupid. I don't know. I don't know what's with Elgato's board of directors, their executive team. They're making really weird decisions. I can't say for sure that what they were doing was what I said in terms of, sending out review units as brand new units, but I mean, given the chain of custody, how do you explain fingerprints on a product that was just released with broken factory seals? And Voodoo, I don't know if you watched the latest video or if you commented on the old one. I can't keep track because I'm getting a lot of comments. Lockpick, you can. That's the problem. But there's a spec limitation. So the spec, the hub that I'm using, That's USB-C power right there. That is the wrong, whoops. Yeah, that's USB-C power. That's coming from a 140 watt brick, and the hub can power, it can send 87 watts to the computer. It allows the rest to be divvied up. It'll basically use like, I think up to 87 watts, and then it'll divide out. But the spec of the port, it can't go beyond 7.5 watts. So the prompter wants 14. The only way I get prompter to work with my MacBook through a hub is using Thunderbolt, because Thunderbolt allows the 15. Not all Thunderbolt. I have a Thunderbolt hub connected to a Thunderbolt dock. That hub allows 15 watts, so I've got it plugged in there. Nonsense. Voodoo Weightlifting says, that's rough. My guess is some... I'll pop the comment on screen after. Whoever made this app, like, when I click on it, it's harder to read. So I'll click on it, which throws it on screen after I read it. So that's rough. My wild guess is someone messed up when receiving the demo/review units, put it back in inventory as new. Nope, I don't believe that. And I'll tell you why in a second. So then those got shipped out with new units. Nope. Don't agree with that either. No offense. That's not at you. That's not what happened. And I'll really explain why. Customer and Reddit support probably didn't know, so they were answering with what they knew. That I can understand. That I can believe. Right? Let me pull the first comment. But I think they messed up as not acknowledging that they were wrong. 100%. Not sure if just the shadow, but is that other Mac Midnight? Yes. Yes, this is the Midnight. This is not Midnight Blue. This is the Space Gray. It could just be the shadow. Here, we'll do one of these. Yeah. It could just been the shadow, just because my key light kind of cuts off over here. Let me see that actually. Yeah, it's the space black. Okay, so I want to address this one here. The wild guess. Do you know why I don't believe that? Here's the box it came in. I'm going to fold this in because I don't want to give out any personal information. This was the box that the original one came in. So mine is darker than that. Okay, cool. So you notice, and on the top, there's some paper, right? Like there's like stickers, I should say, but there's no custom label. I live in Canada, and Elgato, traditionally, when they ship to Canada, it takes like a week. Okay? When I got the new one, it had a customs label on the side. And none of that's my personal information. Good to know. Okay, so here's the problem. Look at the timing of all this. Monday, embargo lifts. All the sponsored content comes out on YouTube. Because Elgato launched a Stream Deck Plus XL not this past Monday, the Monday prior. Okay. Tuesday passes. Wednesday morning at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, I ordered it. Okay. Now, if you've seen stuff, yeah. So this is the thing. I didn't know you almost immediately got it. I ordered it Wednesday morning around like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. I received it Thursday at 4 o'clock the next day. Like, what, we're talking 30 hours later? Customs doesn't even go that fast half the time. And when I looked at the tracking, I remember I got the UPS email saying, like, good news, your item is out for delivery tomorrow. And this was the same day I ordered it. I'm like, that's a UPS glitch. Maybe they mean, and in my head, because I've seen this, where it's like, oh, the label was created, but UPS for some reason sends your package is going to be delivered tomorrow. Like, that's happened. But then, like, it updates and it's like, psych, you're not getting your stuff for 2 weeks. Haha, sucker. Anyway, so what happened was I was like, okay, well, maybe it'll update. But then the next morning, I woke up and I got a notification from the UPS My Choice app, which said, your package is out for delivery. And I'm like, this can't be the Stream Deck. There's no way. I'm thinking, like, do I have something else coming? Like, I don't remember ordering anything else that was slated to come at that time. And I opened the tracking. I look at the tracking number. I went to Elgato's email because it's the only thing I could think of that was being shipped to me. And I'm like, this is coming now. Okay, interesting. I wonder why. When I looked at the tracking history, though, the history stated that it originated from a town that's 45 minutes away from me. Here's the thing, I've lived in Ontario, Canada my whole life, and the area I live in now, this will be my 7th year up here, which is about an hour from where I used to live. But I used to travel when I was DJing. I traveled all over Ontario to do gigs. And I know the areas pretty well. And I'll tell you this, the area in Ontario, Canada, where they ship from, not only doesn't have logistics warehouses, it's a small residential town. They're not a logistics hub. It's not a place where packages would go in mass to be distributed. That's not that kind of township. So what it told me, what I really believed, was that the product, there's a content creator who lives in that township or around that township, dropped it off there, and then because it's going to Elgato, again, I'm assuming, but this is what it seems like ultimately. So no, I don't think they would. If a reviewer out there has my personal information, then I'm going to sue the dog shit out of Elgato. But I don't want to speculate. I don't want to speculate like that because I don't think that's what they did. I'm speculating even what I'm suggesting. So let me be clear about that too. What I think happened is because maybe Elgato prepaid for that shipping label, which means they have control over where that package goes because they probably have a deal with UPS because they do big business with UPS. They ship all over the world with UPS, right? So what they probably did was they're like, okay, well, we got a content creator. He only used it for he or she might have got it I don't know, last week, and they used it for 4 to 5 days. So it's basically brand new. So maybe I'm not in their partner program, and at this juncture, I don't want to be in their partner program because I don't like what they did here. But they probably instruct their creators, again, I'm assuming, they might instruct their creators to don't peel the seals off the bottom, right? Like the plastic seals that are over the rubberized feet. Don't open the USB-C cable because you probably, as a content creator, you probably have a million USB-C cables. I'm a baby content creator, and if I I did this last stream, if I reach into this drawer, you'll see an abundance of cables. A lot of those are USB-C. And look, a random extra 4K 60 Elgato capture card, right? So that's why you'll notice that all these packages, none of them had open USB-C cables or genuine spare part in the baggie, as they call it. So what I think is they just said, well, okay, just, make sure it's clean, put it back in the box, and we'll ship it out, and we'll apologize later for the broken seal. Except the thing Elgato didn't calculate, and again, assuming that this is what they did, what they didn't calculate is some gamers, I'm not saying all, I'm saying some, I have gamer friends and they're not disgusting like some of the returns that we saw. If you saw the last video, these things had fingerprints on them, and I alluded to the fact that what if somebody peed on one of them, and that somewhere Duke Seb's ears just perked up, did somebody say pee? Because Duke was clowning me in the comments that he was the one who peed on my stream deck. Because you don't know. You don't know if it's been tampered with. So that's my super hot take. Crate Lab. I'm gonna say something. Actually, here, I'm gonna show you. As I sent you a DM about this. Crate Lab and I are friends. IRL. Look at the bottom here. Let me move myself out of the way. One moment. Dun, 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 dun. Get rid of that for a second. Get rid of that for a second. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I am struggling. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull this up so you can see it. Okay, get rid of that and get rid of my A-cam. And Crate Lab, look at the bottom here. Bun them. I don't know if it's what you're writing or if you said something on YouTube at some point in your life, but for some reason, all of your stuff keeps getting flagged for review. And I don't know why it's doing that. That is insanely annoying. And look, and because it flagged you, I can't even throw your comment on screen. Hilarious. I just can't believe Crate Lab, stay in the stream for a second. By the way, I want to say something here. I just can't believe that they would try to sell a demo unit as new. They're a big company. They don't even need to cut corners like that. Crate Lab is speaking up for all of us. It's trying to keep a brother down. Try to keep a man down. Yeah, remember something. Elgato is owned by Corsair. That just makes it more sad. So Crate Lab, I almost dox you and say your like full name, your Govy name, if you will. I am streaming right now from the MacBook Neo, the brand new MacBook Neo. And because our Canadian dollar is so bad, that MacBook Neo costs an astounding $799 for the base model in Canada. Gotta love it. But yeah, I'm streaming live from it, and I've got all the devices plugged into this hub, and I've got power delivery coming to it, all going here, and then my Stream Deck is on this one cable. And Q says from... Oh, here we go. I see Crate Lab is losing his proverbial mind. That's crazy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This computer should not be able to do this. And, because, extra, read all about it. What I'm going to do, and I've been doing this all stream, even though it's annoying to do it on stream, but whatever. Check this out. So this is OBS. I've been streaming for 2 hours and 29 minutes, which means this stream's going to end very soon. I've dropped 0 frames. I'm having random rendering problems, but that has nothing to do with the MacBook. Voodoo weightlifting, I'm going to give you that, and then that'll probably be one of my last chats, but I will definitely address that in a second. That's crazy. So, yeah, I'm not dropping any frames. I'm doing 10 megabit, streaming this whole time. My CPU is only at 10%. However, let me undox myself for a moment, because I'm going to pull up Activity Monitor on Mac. For Windows people, it's the equivalent of Task Manager. And Tahoe is useless. That's my one gripe with this machine, is it ships with Tahoe, and Tahoe is the worst. Like, look at this. Do I need to see the whole stupid graph? Like, come on. Like, do I need the graph to be that big? Like, come on, man. Like, what are we dealing with here? So this is the GPU. And this is when my main like this part I'm circling right here is when my main camera's on. It is not happy, but I think the media engine's built into that. Here's our core efficiencies, but the reason we're only using 10% is because we're using the media engine that's built into this thing. And the dopeness, and I'm going to show this, and I'm actually going to make my life easier so I can see what I'm showing you, and flip that. So this is the hottest part of the body up here. We're at 40 Celsius. There's no flipping fan in this thing, dude. This is nuts. We're doing 1080 at 30, not 60. But you can do 4K 30, which I would imagine means you can do 1080 60 without a problem. But you're not doing anything else with it. Like, if I open more than like 2 Microsoft Edge tabs, this computer basically cries at me. And why I'm getting the stutter is because the widget that I'm using to pull the chat up is a Chromium widget within Edge. I refuse to install Chrome because it is a battery life disaster, and I've tested and proved that. All from an enlarged cell phone. Exactly. It runs full fat Mac OS. I was actually a little bit nervous that the Mac OS version, that the build that shipped with this Neo, was going to come with some nerfed, like, like Mac OS Junior. You know what I mean? Well, Tahoe is nerfed Mac OS, but in a different way. So I want to get to Voodoo weightlifting, and then I'm probably going to jump off because I've been on for over 2 hours, and it's dinner time. So, not to derail the topic, but could I ask what light setup you have for your desk? Are you referring to this desk? Because this is a YouTube set. My desk is not conducive to making YouTube videos. It doesn't look nice. And even this looks nice subjectively. Like, if you think this looks nice, then I did something right. The lighting setup's a little complicated. I'll tell a fun story. See in the background that mirror? That mirror was there when I moved in. When I moved into this house, or sorry, when I saw this house, when I was looking for a place, this whole basement was a massive gym. Like there was weights and all sorts of stuff all over the place. And like half, I'd say just under half of the basement is tiled because they would like drop weights and stuff like that. And it's carpeted on the other half. Um, I don't know what's behind that mirror. And I don't want to move it because I haven't had any problems. But anyway, the reason I bring that up is because you're probably seeing like this big glow in the mirror up there, right? If I can see what I'm pointing at. I just gotta make sure I'm even on the right like scene and I'm not just showing you my desktop. No, we're good. Okay, so that big glow is actually my lantern. Not a softbox, it's a lantern. And there's an Amaran 200D in there with the lantern softbox. The lantern comes with like a skirt, like a black skirt, and it's Velcroed, so you can like cut the light. So that's why the background, you can see the RGB okay, because I've got two of those Govee standing like lights that you would put next to a TV in different colors. I have them on both sides, like in that kind of like beige. I just realized this one was turned wrong. Yeah, so I've got a light like that over there, another one over there. I've got like a GVM RGB light that's just sitting on the shelf, kind of giving me other light. That's what's splashing in the background. On my shoulder, on this side, and the side of my head, like right here, I have one of those Zhiyun, like cheaper 60-watt lights, but it has a studio mode. I'm going to break the whole stream when I do this, so I'm apologizing now if the stream breaks. But if I go like this, if I hold the SIRI button and I say, done filming, please don't break, please don't break. Okay, so maybe the stream went offline. Maybe we're still up. Who knows?
I didn't get that.
Shut up, Siri. Okay, so this is all on smart plugs. And if I go unboxing, everything should come back up. Yeah, everything's back up. Okay. And the only thing that really sucks about doing that is, all right, sick. Cool. Yeah, we're still up. Yeah, I saw that we were still up. My monitor that I'm monitoring chat on is actually plugged into that whole set of smart plugs. So, yeah, that's the setup. And that light, that's purpose, it has like the, I don't know what the technical term for it is. You screw it on the end of the Bowens mount and it's kind of like a projector, but it's not a projector. Anyway, the only purpose that light has is to light up this side, to give me that edge light, which makes it really cool for, what's it called? It makes it really cool for masking yourself out for like, you know, YouTube stuff where you put the text and stuff behind you. Like even the thumbnail for this live stream. Also, as you may or may not have noticed, I'm bald. I've got the shine on this side because I can't help it because that's physics. The light's just hitting it. But on my lens, on my Panasonic S5 II, I'm using a 50 millimeter at 1.8. The lens, I have a CPL filter on it. Because you use a CPL if you're doing photography and you're shooting, say, through water. You don't want to get the reflection of light off the water of like the sun. When you film cars, there's the polarizing filter. You just turn it and eventually it will cut the reflection. Well, when the light's shining off my head, that's a reflection. And I figured out that, like, wait a minute, if that's a reflection, I wonder if a CPL could help it. And that's what I use. And it gets rid of the hot spot. Like, I still have a little bit of a hot spot, but it's not bad. Like, it's not like blaring off the top of my head. So yeah, I use a CPL there. And yeah, that's the whole setup in terms of what you're looking at. So I hope that answers that question. And again, that was yeah, this question here. So yeah, I think it is time for me to go. And I got 4 people left watching. Yeah, because it's dinner time. People are going for dinner. They're smarter than me. I need to go for dinner. I don't need to eat anymore. I've got plenty of weight on me. But no, honestly, thank you guys so much. I'm going to take off. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Thanks for the super chat. Hellaway Funeral. I don't know if you're still here, but I super highly appreciate You didn't have to do that. That is awesome. Thank you so much. But I'm going to get on out of here, and I wish you guys a good rest of your weekend. Have a great one, and we will chat soon. I am recording this live stream because I might put this in my YouTube. I might put pieces of this in my YouTube video. We'll see how that goes. Verdict on the MacBook Neo so far. I haven't tested battery life, so I can't speak on that. However, for a student, this thing is a touch overkill. It can do way more than a student needs. And for that reason, I do not think Apple's going to refresh this yearly. Anyway, that's it for me. My name is Sean. This has been Tech Mixer, and I'm out. Peace.